Which game should I play today? Pokemon Snap. Throwing poison-filled balls at cute little creatures. That's always fun. Not today. Halo. Even though I don't have an Xbox. I don't even have this. My Sims. Not to my Sims! Not to my Sims game! No! Not to my Sims! Not my Sims! Oh, I know. I'll play Bart's Nightmare. I mean, I did just write an entire script called The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. So, it's probably the best choice.
General consensus in the gaming community is that Simpsons games suck. I, however, have only played 3 Simpsons games in my entire life: The Simpsons Hit and Run, The Simpsons arcade game, and The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. While Hit and Run is no GTA, the game is really fun and the driving mechanics are quite enjoyable. And though The Simpsons arcade game is just a simple beat-em-up game, I enjoyed it for no other reason than the old arcade nostalgia. The only one left is Bart's Nightmare. I remember really liking the game as a kid, even though I could never beat it or even come close to beating it. It was actually one of my favorite games to play on the Super Nintendo, as sad as that may be. So I figured I'd pick it up again and see if it was actually a good game or if I was just a stupid kid with no sense of quality. And while I'm at it, maybe now that I'm older, wiser, more skilled, and obviously more attractive, maybe I can finally beat it. Bart's Nightmare starts out with Bart working on some paper for school. He seems to be working diligently, which is very unlike Bart's character, until BAM! Sleep happens. And he has what is perhaps the strangest snore sound effect I've ever heard. Once he's asleep, his papers are blown out the window by a fan, so the only logical thing left to do is jump out the window after them. I mean, he couldn't use the door because that just makes sense. And that's where the game starts. Bart then walks around on the street searching for his missing papers. Once you find one, you jump on it and then choose between 2 colored doors that represent different minigames. If you beat the minigame, you collect a paper, but if you lose, it's back to the street for poor old Bart. In order to win, or at least get the highest score possible, you have to collect all the papers. If you fail to collect all the papers, you get a poor score and you're faced with the worst punishment of all: slight disappointment from your family members. If you fail a minigame, you can try it again later, but you have to find another paper first, which can often take a long time. Your health in the street level is represented by Z's, and they're by far the most important thing in the game. If you lose all your Z's, then Bart wakes up and you're left with whatever amount of papers you found. And of course, it makes no difference that Bart fell asleep while writing. What's really important is how well he did in the dream he was having. I mean, this is an old school video game, so naturally logic is thrown out the window. You know, like the papers. I could go into a lot of detail about the street level, but it'd mostly just be me ranting about how frustrating it is, so I'll just sum it up with this. Those heads can go choke to death on the nearest batch of buttered olive slices! I don't appreciate them much. But now let's take a look at the actual minigames, and we'll start with the purple door. In this game, Bart swims around and kills whatever these things are. In order to do this, Bart uses an air pump a la Dig Dug. We interrupt this program to bring you the 6 stages of an amoeba thingy's death. Stage 1, mild surprise. Stage 2, overconfidence. Stage 3, a disturbing look of pleasure. Stage 4, realization of the inevitability. Stage 5, regretting life choices. And stage 6, kablooey. The guys with spikes on their head can hit you, but they don't actually do any damage, so the ones you really need to watch out for are the ones that throw grenades. They're pretty easy to dodge, but it only takes one hit and you lose the whole game, so if they catch you out of position, you're screwed. But to actually win this game, you have to swim into this thing. I don't know if this was actually a character on the show. I certainly don't remember her, so I just call her the Hi There Lady. Hi there! Once you swim into her a handful of times, you get a paper. For some reason. Moving on. Next up is the green door, which is actually a two-part game. This one's easy enough to figure out. Bart is transformed into Bartzilla, and his sole purpose is to wreck up the place. I had problems with this one as a kid, but it's pretty simple now. Each of the 4 buttons is designated to taking out either the helicopters, jets, tanks, or the completely helpless train. Once you cause enough destruction, you get a paper and move on to the second phase, where Bart is now playing the part of Donkey Kong. This is one of the more rage-inducing levels. I think it was actually designed to be frustrating. As you climb up, people in the building constantly throw things at you. TVs, safes, bags of their own money. Couldn't these people find anything less valuable to throw out the window? Even their pets are used as ammo. What's really frustrating about it though is that they really can't be dodged. You have to move as fast as possible to keep from losing, and you can't see high enough to actually react in time, so there's pretty much no skill involved. Once you get higher, Butterfly Marge here takes her rage out on you too, for some reason. Also, there's a UFO sometimes, but I have no idea what it does. You keep trekking on until you get to Homer, and you have to electrify him in order to get the paper. I have no idea what the timing is for this, usually I just get lucky. And now on to the blue door. If you're going for a perfect score, I recommend saving this door until you have around 6 to 7 pages because there's no reason to do it early, seeing as how it's both the easiest and the longest level in the game. The only reason to do this level before the end is if you're really in need of some more health, because it's the only level that I know of where you can replenish a Z just by playing through it. So yeah, go crazy with those tips for a 20-year-old game because I know everyone was dying to hear them. In this level, Bart flies around and shoots stuff with his slingshot. This time he's like Superman mixed with David from the Bible? Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Okay, Dennis the Menace. That's better. Anyway, just like the rest of the game, everyone and their grandma is out to get you. Except for Apu, who gives you health, so I guess Bart's only friend is a middle-aged convenience store manager. That's kinda sad. There's not that much more to say about this level, but I guess it is noteworthy for being the only part of the game to feature multiple important characters in the series, like the previously mentioned Apu, Smithers, and Mr. Burns. And now for what's probably my least favorite door, the yellow door. Oh joy. This one's another two-parter, although unlike the green door, you don't get to do them both in a row. In this level, Bart faces off against the fiendish, itchy, scratchy, and the infamous lamp that shoots light bulbs at you. It also apparently never runs out. And also apparently light bulbs blow up. The first level isn't really that hard once you figure out how to dodge the multiple different insta-kills that Itchy and Scratchy throw at you. The second level, however, I found to be really annoying. Mostly because the controls are so bad. Why does Bart slide around so much? Is everything in this level covered with lubricant? Lubricant. If there's one good thing that comes out of this door, it's the epic Bart slide pose. And now for the final door, the dreaded orange door, where Bart is now a Simpsons version of Indiana Jones. This level confused me so badly when I was little, and this is basically how long most of my attempts lasted. Older games like this had a tendency to not tell you how the game worked, so you're left clueless. But since you couldn't just try over and over again because of the often drug-out street phase, it was really hard to understand stuff like this, even with trial and error. But as I finally figured out, or I guess to be completely honest, as a random guy who wrote a walkthrough and then relayed the information to me via the World Wide Web figured out, you have to avoid jumping on the lowest blocks with the fire above them, or you'll fall straight into hell. Other than the trap blocks, you have to avoid these little devils and the pterodactyls that lure you in with extra life eggs. And while I'm on the subject, more games should use the good old extra life egg. I don't know why, they just should. Perhaps the biggest danger, however, is Maggie, who shoots her pacifier at you. And how do you avoid it? Get this. This is a good one. You hop to the closest block and then hold the R button to look to the right. Then she fires and it won't hit you. Well, duh, what in the world was I thinking as a kid? It's so obvious! The second stage of the orange door is exactly the same, except this time around, instead of just blue devils, sometimes green devils will appear. So, of course you're gonna use your whip to kill them like the blue ones, right? Well, of course not, because that somehow kills you instantly. Took me a while to figure that one out. You just have to avoid these guys, which can be a real pain if they come at a bad time. Just keep on keeping on and more than likely die multiple times in the process and you'll be golden. Bam. New page. Easy peasy, right? And that's it. I finally beat the game after all these years. It was pretty good. A little frustrating and maybe not quite as good as I remember it being, but it was pretty good. And I'm sure I'll get a really nice treat for finishing the game with a perfect grade. Or not. It's pretty much the same, except now instead of being mildly disappointed, they're mildly pleased. Ah well, at least Bart's excited. You like what you see? Well then why not check out more on our website, normalboots.com, or you can click here to watch the last video I did. And while you're at it, you might as well like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter, because, you know, just do it. Peace. And you're left with whatever amount of papers you found. And of course, it makes no difference that Bart fell asleep while writing. What's really important is that, oh my gosh, this is the shortest line and I have problems with doing it. I have problems doing it.